from the ASLT again. I wanted to do a quick video. This is for a lot of the introduction for young designers and beginner designers, you self-doers. I wanted to go over the idea of drawing a perfect arc or curve. I've been seeing a lot of people drawing curves and arcs in Illustrator. A lot of them are incorrectly drawn. So I wanted to show you my technique, and I think this is a very good technique to use. So if it helps you, hopefully you guys will use it and apply it to your design. So this is what I would do. The first thing that I think would help you to draw a good arc or a curve is to just kind of study the form from a perfect shape of a curve, which is what we call a circle, right? This is the perfect shape, or equidistant from each other from the center point, and we create a circle. And I think studying a circle will help all of us to kind of understand how an arc should be created. So as I look at this circle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some guidelines and create a center point for this. So I'm going to find a circle and center point, and I'm going to move my axis point in my ruler in Illustrator here. If you can notice up here in the upper left corner, I'm going to move that axis point and move it to the center of my circle from this corner up here. So I'm going to just click and hold and drag from the axis point from the ruler on the sides of my document and bring it into the center of my circle and release it. So now if you look at my ruler, you see that the axis point 0 is here and axis point 0 is here where my circle lies. Now I'm just going to draw some guidelines because that's going to help me. I always want to have guidelines. There's one there and there's one there. So now I have guidelines on the axis point 0, 0, and there's my circle. And as you saw that I created this circle using the elliptical tool, notice that as soon as I drew this, that the circle automatically has anchor points. And I want you to notice where the anchor points are. And this is the technique, I guess, behind every arc that you create. You just kind of follow this as a rule and a standard. So if you notice, I have an arc at the most top portion of the curve or the tangent, and I have the most far right tangent, and I have the most far bottom tangent, and I have the far left tangent. Those where the anchor points are. And if you notice also the handles are horizontal, perpendicular. So they're horizontal along the line of the tangent, both on the top and bottom, and then they're vertical on the sides, right and left. So if you want to draw guidelines, and that would be the perfect way to know where to draw your tangent. So next time you have an arc, you know that you should have tangents and be looking for the peak on the top, the peak on the bottom, the peak on the right, and peak on the left. Obviously, not all arcs are this easy to understand or decipher, and sometimes arcs are very, very complex. But this is the basis by which you should draw your arc from. Whenever you can, you should always look for these points. So I'm going to get rid of this. Actually, let's do this. Let me lock this into a layer, and I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, and I'm going to lock this bottom layer, and I'm going to draw. I'm going to attempt to draw this, and I want to show you guys a couple of ways to do this. Some of you experts probably know how to do this well enough that you can actually draw your anchor points along the path and pull your handles while you're putting those anchor points down, meaning something like this. So if I have my pen tool, you put your anchor point down and you pull your handle, and you continually do this. And when you do this, you can see the arc that you're going to draw, and it gives you a preview. And I can draw this out, and you can see as I click and pull my handle out that I'm creating an arc just along that perfect circle. And it matches it beautifully, right? And so there it is. There's my perfect circle. And if I choose a color, I pretty much replicated that thing. It's a little bit off up here, but for the most part, this is the perfect arc, right? So again, this is once you've gotten comfortable with laying down your anchor points and you're comfortable with pulling your handles while you lay down your anchor points together, you can do this regularly and normally, right? But say you're still learning to draw this arc and learn to control the pen tool. And by the way, the pen tool is, I would say, one of the most essential tools to learn and get down and master in both Illustrator, in Photoshop, and in InDesign. So it's something that I really encourage any designer to learn. So now let's take this and let's try to do this from a more of a beginner's point of view. So I'm going to delete the circle, and on this curve, what I'm going to do is instead of pulling the handle, this is what I would recommend for you young designers or beginners. Use your pen tool and literally just click and put down your anchor points first without pulling the handle. Click and just click and pull away from the anchor point. So you'll get this kind of square or diamond shape, or depending on the shape that you're creating. And then what you want to do is you want to go back. You want to go back with your anchor point tool, or Shift C, and then you click on your anchor point and you just hold down Shift, and when you hold down Shift, your handle stays perpendicular into 90 degrees, 45 degrees, and etc., right, and 0. So pull your handles out, and don't pull them all the way out here, because you may be trying to create this arc, but you remember the arc is created by the adjacent anchor point. So you want to come out partially, because you want to let the other anchor point with its handles help in making that arc and sharing that duty. So I'm going to come down to the next one, and I'm going to pull my handle, and notice that as I do this, the top arc over here is almost done, and then I'm going to continue to do that, go around to all the other arcs or other anchor points and pull my handles. And as I do that, notice that my arcs are turning out nicely again. So here I need to go back and adjust, and then when you want to adjust it, you don't want to go back with the anchor point tool, you want to go back with the direct selection tool. So with this tool, I'm going to have to pull the handle out just a little bit more, and I think that also if I zoom in here, my anchor point is not on target with the circle, and there it is. So I've just created my circle again using two methods. The first one was literally putting my anchor point down, pulling the handle at the same time, and the second method was to put down the anchor points first on the corners. Let me go back, and then pull my handles after that. So this would be the easier way to do it, and less confusing and less frustrating way if you're learning this, right? So there it is. There's step one. Now let's get a little bit more complex. I downloaded this image of this kind of double helix infinity symbol, and I just want to show you the same theory of the anchor point that I used up here along the line with this one. So I'm gonna hide the guidelines for now. Let's see. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to observe. My first thing that I want to do is observation. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for, again, the highest point in my curve. Doesn't matter if it's a circle or an elliptical shape like this. I'm looking for the highest, the far right, bottom, far left, wherever I can put down an anchor point. And this also applies to the inners, or what we call the counter in the design world, or type design world. This is the outer stroke, and this is the counter, and inside there is also a curve, right? So I have to match those as well. So let's start to do this, and let's kind of follow along in the easy route. So I'm going to use my regular pen tool, and I'm just going to find my highest point, put down my anchor point, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to do the bottom. And I'm going to go and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to create all the outside shape first. So I'm going to go in here, that's where the points meet, and there's a bottom point here where the points meet, where the arcs meet. Top tangent, there it is. So basically, if I look at this shape, I've created the perimeter of this double helix. And then I'll go in and then eventually fix the insides as well, the counter spaces. So let me just start with the first anchor point that I started with. So I'm going to go in again and get my anchor point tool. I'm just going to start to pull the handle just like I did with my circle that I created earlier in my example. So I'm going to pull my handles, and then a lot of this I might have to go back and adjust a little bit more. And so what I would recommend in this type of situation here, you notice that as I pull the handle, one side, the left side, lines up beautifully, and then on the right, because the arc is much shorter and my handle equally pulls out equal distance, the arc kind of goes over and becomes larger or too big basically. I'm going to come back and fix that. So I just want to line up one side at least, and I can make the short side line up or the long side line up, but I like to make the complex side line up first. So let's come back. Let's go back in here. And all I'm doing now is just pulling the handle back. I'm holding down shift. And I'm basically pulling the shorter arc handle to create that beautiful curve. So there it is. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And I like this method so much more than when people put handles in the corner. You have so little control and it looks messy. So here it is. I'm coming back and just cleaning everything up basically, and this is all it takes, and this is part of it, what the designer needs to do basically. And in here I need to allow this curve to work or this handle to work, and both of them just need to adjust these two together. And the same thing on the top here. I think I need to pull this out just a little bit and maybe pull this down just a little bit. Maybe this one needs to come out some more too. Okay, there it is. All right, so now I have my outer perimeter. This looks like it needs a little bit of coming out there. Okay, so I've got the outer perimeter done, and now I'm going to tackle the inside counter spaces. And it's the same principle again. I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to click in the corners. I'm going to come down to the bottom most tangent, most far left tangent, most top tangent, where the two arcs meet in the corner, far left tangent, and then where the corners meet. There it is. And then I can use the convert tool. I should know the shortcut Shift C by now, but oops. So let me get the actually let me get the short one on this one, and then come over here and play with these two to adjust those two. There it is. And I'm gonna take both of these guys to adjust that, and that looks like it's let's double check. Oops. Yeah, it needs to come in a little bit. And then now I take this guy and then I create that arc for that counter area. So now that's done. So you get the concept, right? So I can come in here and I'm going to actually go through this really quickly. Okay, so now we have those made. I am hoping that I could reflect these four shapes into this area here. So let's see what happens. It might work, it might not. I'm going to just do the center point here, a vertical reflect, copy, and boom. And it's not a perfect match because why? We have to now reflect it vertically, I think. So let me reflect it one more time. I mean horizontally. I'm going to do it horizontally. Oops, I don't want to copy it. Horizontally, okay, boom, and there it is. So I basically reflected it vertically and horizontally because it's a it's a helix type of thing. Yeah. Anyways, you'll figure it out. All right, there is my arc, and it's not perfect, and I could go in there and adjust it a tiny bit. And yeah, this needs adjustment. So there it is. I've just created. Now I know you're sitting here, some of you are probably thinking, well, you could have used the pen tool and used the width tool to make this. Yeah, I could have, but I'm trying to, the idea was to create a arc and how to create an arc. And then you can go in and create something like this perfectly and beautifully instead of fumbling with it. So the principle would be, if I was creating this big path here, right, I would just map it out. Look at all the right, far right, bottom, left, top, finish point, top, right, bottom, and then top over here again. So let's create this. I'm just going to create this big shape, and then we'll finish off here. So let me go in with my pen tool. So here is the shape, the path. So let's start at the tip here, and then I'm going to have one at the top right of this curve. I'm going to have at the very bottom tangent, far right tangent, again, very top tangent, left tangent, bottom tangent, right tangent, top tangent, and finish point. All right, so there it is. And then I'm just going to go back in here with my convert tool or my anchor tool. And so then from here, I'm just going to touch upon a really simple tool. There is a tool in your tool bar here called the width tool. So I'm going to go in here, and it makes it tight. And here is probably where I want to open it up a little bit, so then it tapers. This is where you create a taper look using that width tool. So notice from between here and here it gets a little bit wider as well. So I could probably, I'm just going to put one down here and just go a little bit wider. So you notice that it's starting to taper out. See that? There it goes. And then here, even wider, right? Boom. And then here as well, look, even wider and wider. And I'm just using all the tangent points as my points for the actual width tool, which is a good reference point for you to use. So there it is. And then here you can make it wide, but also what you want to do with this is use your stroke, stroke panel. If it comes up, I don't know why it's taking so long to come up. I hope it doesn't crash. There it is. And I just want to put an end cap there, right? So boom. And I want to go back to my width tool, and I want to make this a little bit wider there, and maybe even move this down just a little bit. And there you have it. Boom. And so let me do this. Actually, let me take these guys and use my Pathfinder. And let me cut this out and reverse fill it. So basically what I did with this is, you guys know how to use Pathfinder. Because I drew this shape first, remember, whenever you draw shapes in Illustrator, whatever you draw first lays down at the bottom layer. Whether you see it in layers or not, it builds itself own layers. And all the other counter shapes were on top. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the Pathfinder to cut out the inner shapes from the outer shape that I drew first. And so when you're doing that cutout, it's called minus front. Basically, I'm cutting out, minusing the front or the top layers from the back layer, or you want to call it back or bottom, right? And so since all the counters are on the front, it's going to cut it out from this big outside back layer. So I'm going to select all of them together, and then I'm just going to use this minus front tool. Boom. And then that becomes a shape with the insides cut out. And all I did was take the stroke and reversed it to make it a fill. I drew my elliptical shape. There's my my swirl, and there, well, that was the circle, right? So that's it. That's very simple. I think this is a much better way than, I hate it when people put anchor points in the corner and pull handles out of that. you don't have really good control with that. Trust me on this. Try this out, and then once you master this, you will feel much more comfortable, and you'll draw beautiful curves going forward. All right. So this was Jung at the ASLT. Please subscribe, share, follow. If you have any other subjects you want me to cover and I will cover it. If you have any questions, you can always email me at jung at skueat.com. And again, subscribe, share, and watch it. All right. See you guys later. See you next time on the ASLT.